Cyber Threat Brief for August 5, 2026. INC ransomware is actively exploiting the sonic wall zero-day pair with rapid deployment times. CISA, the Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agency, added 3 critical flaws to KEV, known exploited vulnerabilities catalog, including Langflow remote code execution, Enable auth bypass, and Apache Tomcat encryption bypass. Microsoft published details on Chain Drop, a supply chain worm that poisoned 400+ NPM packages and self-propagates using stolen credentials. Here's the full breakdown of today's top security stories. Next section, critical alerts. Sonic Wall 0 days exploited by INC ransomware. CVE 2026-15409. CVE 2026-15410. INC ransomware has emerged as the primary threat actor exploiting the sonic wall vulnerability chain disclosed July 14. The group has claimed nearly 900 victims across 71 countries and is now weaponizing both CVEs together for full access to vulnerable appliances. While initial exploitation began June 22 from common hosted infrastructure, INC's post-disclosure activity shows significantly faster operational tempo, moving from initial access to ransomware deployment rapidly. Huntress researchers spotted 30 sonic wall customers compromised in under 2 days last week. Both CVE are CISA, the Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agency, KEV, known exploited vulnerabilities catalog, entries with EPSS, the exploit prediction scoring system, scores in the 99/100th percentile, and a remediation deadline of July 17, already passed. 10 of 17 sonic wall KEV entries since 2021 are linked to ransomware campaigns. Action. Patch immediately if not already done. Sonic Wall released fixes July 14. If patching is delayed, assume compromise and conduct incident response. Review firewall configurations, authentication logs, and network traffic for indicators of exploitation dating back to June 22. Sources: Cyberscoop. CISA KEV editions: Langflow, Enable, Tomcat, CVE 2026-9198, and 2 additional CVEs. See show notes for the full list. CISA added 3 actively exploited vulnerabilities to KEV on August 4 with a remediation deadline of August 7. CVE 2026-9198. CVSS, the Common Vulnerability Scoring System, 9.8, is a code injection flaw in Langflow allowing unauthenticated remote code execution on default deployments by chaining an auto-login endpoint with a code validation endpoint. Fixed in Langflow 1.10.1, July 2026, and CVSS 8.2.7. 4 are authentication bypass flaws in Enable and Central exploited as 0 days to gain admin access and connect to managed systems. The initial fix was bypassed, prompting. CVSS 7.5 is an encrypt interceptor bypass in Apache Tomcat that turns encryption from fail-closed to fail-open, enabling unauthenticated RCE on cluster members. Fixed in Tomcat 11.0.21, 10.1.54, 9.0.117, April 2026. Chinese threat actors are exploiting an AI-enabled autonomous hacking campaigns using DeepSeek via the Hermes agent framework, and 5 additional CVEs. See show notes for the full list. Action: patch all 3 by August 7. For Langflow, upgrade to 1.10.1+. For Enable and Central, apply the latest hotfix addressing both CVEs. For Tomcat, upgrade to 11.0.21, 10.1.54, or 9.0.117. If patches cannot be deployed immediately, disable affected services or restrict network access. Sources: The Hacker News Security Week CISA. Next section, ransomware claims last 48h. Group victim sector country, Orova BJS Insurance, and Financial Insurance, U.S. Orova Wisdom Oral Surgery, Healthcare U.S. Orova Sure Travel Company Travel Hong Kong Orova Cardiology, Associates Healthcare U.S. Orova Yost Home Improvements Construction U.S. Orova Kingston, Manufacturing Taiwan Orova SSI Holding. Far East, Limited Holding Company Hong Kong Orova Sanrio Hong Kong Co. Limited Retail Hong Kong Orova Tat Fung Textile Co. Limited. Manufacturing Hong Kong Orova Integrated Site Management, Real Estate US 10 claims tracked from the Orova Group in the last 48 hours. These are unverified claims from ransomware leak sites, not confirmed breaches. Next section, ransomware and extortion. Microsoft Defender adds device isolation to attack disruption. Microsoft announced device isolation as a new autonomous response action in Defender attack disruption. QNet Defender isolated a compromised endpoint 128 seconds after the first high-severity alert, when an attacker used a living off-the-land technique to retrieve a remote payload via a legitimate Windows tool. Device isolation blocks all external network connectivity while maintaining access to required security services, cutting off lateral movement, command and control, credential theft, and rapid encryption. The action is time-limited, operator-controlled, and scoped to affected devices. It complements existing user containment and is enforced only when the disruption pipeline reaches 99% precision confidence. Sources: Microsoft Security Blog. Next section, IOCs and Detection. 45% of malware samples bypass DNS using direct-to-IP connections. Palo Alto Networks Unit 42 analyzed 4 million dynamic analysis reports and found 45.32% of malware samples with command and control activity made at least one direct-to-IP connection, bypassing DNS entirely. Measured as a fraction of all C2 connection attempts, D2 IP traffic accounts for 23.17% of the total. Zero Trust IP, ZTIP, analysis surfaced 4pix ransomware droppers connecting directly to C2 IPs, persistent data exfiltration campaigns using custom obfuscated HTTP GET requests, and Mozy P2P botnet payloads delivered to EOT devices without DNS. TCP dominates D2 IP traffic, 94.43% prevalence, averaging 17 unique C2 IPs per sample, while UDP contacts far more addresses per sample, average 79, consistent with scanning and P2P mesh behavior. Action: deploy network-level enforcement that verifies outbound connection destinations were sanctioned by a DNS response. Monitor for raw IP traffic with no prior DNS context, especially WebSocket connections to hard-coded IPs. Source: Unit 42. Next section, Business and Infrastructure Threats. Chain drop supply chain attack. 400-plus NPM packages, poisoned with self-propagating worm. Microsoft Threat Intelligence identified a large-scale NPM supply chain attack, affecting more than 400 packages across multiple unrelated publishers, including Kiev, Flatcache, Cache Manager, and others. Malicious releases contain a mini Shai-Huled variant, a self-propagating credential-stealing worm delivered through a heavily obfuscated bun-based JavaScript payload executed via NPM pre-install lifecycle hooks. The campaign began after a GitHub account compromise and started with 11 malware carriers in the Kiev and cacheable namespaces, combined 500 million weekly downloads, then self-propagated to 433 additional packages. The malware searches for NPM, GitHub, cloud, and infrastructure credentials, authenticates to NPM, GitHub, Oz, Kubernetes, and HashiCorp Vault, and uses recovered NPM tokens to enumerate packages, inject malware, increment patch versions, and republish. It also injects Claude and VS Code config files into repositories for developer-developer infection. The worm uses Ethereum blockchain for C2 ether hiding and installs a dead man's switch that polls GitHub API every 60 seconds and self-deletes if the token stops working or after 24 hours. Action: organizations that installed affected packages with lifecycle scripts enabled should treat developer workstations and build runners as compromised. Revoke and rotate NPM tokens, GitHub tokens, AWS credentials, Kubernetes credentials, and HashiCorp Vault secrets from a known clean environment. Audit GitHub repositories for anomalous activity including injected Claude and VS Code config files. Rebuild affected systems and downstream artifacts from trusted sources. Preserve package tarballs, NPM logs, CI logs, GitHub audit logs, and runner images for forensics. Sources: Microsoft Security Blog. Security Week. The Hacker News. Smoke Hash Screen Campaign delivers Screen Connect via rotating social engineering lures. SecureNix disclosed an active multi-wave campaign delivering ConnectWise Screen Connect RMM, remote monitoring and management, agents via diverse social engineering lures including FakeZoom and Adobe updates, business document reviews, and system maintenance utilities. The campaign uses a toolkit of VB script droppers, batch file loaders, compiled NET executables, and HTML phishing pages, all pointing to a live WSGI DAV staging server at 207.174.0.143 to 8080. Successful attacks install a Screen Connect agent beaconing to one of 3 attacker-controlled relay servers. The campaign rotates payloads between download sessions, making hash-based detection ineffective, and uses 4 psychologically different lure contexts to maximize victim population. Delivery leverages Dropbox shared links and Cloudflare quick tunnels to bypass domain reputation filters. One batch script variant disables Windows AMSI, escalates privileges via UAC, turns off Smart Screen, and removes Zone Identifier ADS from downloaded MSI files before execution. Action: block 207.174.0.143 to 8080, and the 3 Screen Connect relay servers, IPs available in SecureNix report. Hunt for unauthorized Screen Connect agents, VB script droppers with environment checks, and PowerShell execution from obfuscated VBS. Review Dropbox and Cloudflare tunnel usage. Sources: Dark Reading the Hacker News. Frontier AI Autonomous Vulnerability Discovery. 14,090 OSS vulnerabilities in 2 months. Palo Alto Networks, Unit 42 built Nova, an autonomous vulnerability discovery system powered by multiple frontier AI models. In 2 months, Nova analyzed 3,915 OSS projects and uncovered 14,090 confirmed vulnerabilities, 99.4% previously unreported, and 40% designated high or critical severity. The system performs project history review, source code reading, vulnerability candidate identification, proof of concept creation, deterministic validation, patch generation, and disclosure report production with no human in the loop until final review. Nearly every frontier and open-weight model could find real vulnerabilities, with strongest results from an ensemble approach. The research demonstrates AI fundamentally shifts vulnerability discovery dynamics, compressing the patch window and making virtual patching critical. Unit 42 is partnering with Lightwell and Acrites for responsible disclosure. Action: deploy virtual patching capabilities to address AI-discovered vulnerabilities faster than traditional 55-day patch cycles. Prioritize vulnerability management, zero-trust architecture, software supply chain security, and attack surface reduction. Expect higher vulnerability discovery rates and compressed attack windows as AI tools proliferate. Source: Unit 42. Greatness FAS adds device code phishing to bypass MFA, multi-factor authentication. The Greatness Phishing as a Service platform now supports adversary-in-the-middle token theft, device code phishing, and OAuth consent abuse from a unified operator panel. Subscriptions start at $289/month, up from $120 in January 2024, via Telegram at Greatness page, 3,250 plus subscribers. The platform targets Microsoft 365, iCloud, Yahoo, and Google Workspace, and provides 11 plus downloadable lure templates, voicemail, document sharing, QR codes. Device code phishing abuses OAuth 2. Zero device authorization grant to bypass MFA. Operators access the panel via O365 panel login page, requiring user ID and 9-character license key, with dashboard providing campaign statistics, captured cookies, heat maps, and downloadable templates. Action: deploy conditional access policies restricting OAuth device code flow. Monitor for OAuth consent grants and device code auth attempts. Train users on device code phishing tactics. Block known Greatness infrastructure. Source: The Hacker News. QuickFox VPN supply chain attack delivers FDMTP backdoor. Since August 2025, Fortinet disclosed a long-standing supply chain attack on QuickFox, a VPN and network acceleration tool for overseas Chinese users. The attack has been ongoing since at least August 2025 and involves a Trojanized Windows installer delivering FDMTP, a Mustang Panda backdoor. The attack uses a modified Electron renderer, HTML, file to download and execute a JavaScript loader that fingerprints the victim, checks for Steam, aborts if present, validates at least one process from a list of 26 domestic applications /crypto wallets /developer tools is running, then downloads FDMTP via DLL, dynamic link library, sideloading. QuickFox removed malicious components in version 3.59.6, released between July 25 and August 13, 2025. Earliest affected version was 3.0.51.0. The campaign solely targeted Windows users. Action: organizations with QuickFox deployments should update to 3.59.6+, treat systems running 3.0.51.0 through 3.59.5 as potentially compromised, and hunt for FDMTP indicators. Revoke and rotate credentials accessible to affected identities. Source: The Hacker News. Kaspersky. Cloud platforms enable phishers to bypass MFA via 8M attacks. Kaspersky reported phishing operators increasingly exploit legitimate cloud services, Cloudflare workers, Versal, Netlify, GitHub Pages, IPS, to evade detection and streamline scam infrastructure. These platforms offer inherent trust and reputation, generous free-tier developer plans with minimal KYC, and native security features that obscure origin server IPs behind CDNs. A recent 8M campaign leveraging Cloudflare workers executed multi-stage attacks through compromised websites and cloud-hosted pages. The first stage harvests target email addresses via fake CAPTCHA on compromised sites, embeds email in URL hash to avoid server requests, then redirects to workers. Dev subdomain. The second stage presents genuine CAPTCHA, then initializes transparent proxy to capture MFA sessions. Shared subdomains hosting millions of legitimate projects cannot be blocked without collateral damage, requiring content-based analysis. Action. Deploy content-based phishing detection that analyzes pages hosted on cloud platforms. Monitor for workers. Dev Versal, App Netlify, App GitHub, EO and IPS gateways in phishing campaigns. Train users to verify URLs even when domains appear trustworthy. Source, Securalist Kaspersky. Next section, General Security News. Unitel Angola hit by cyberattack hours before IPO. Unitel, Angola's dominant mobile operator, 76% market share, suffered a cyberattack on July 28 at 2:20 a.m. The same day, the government closed a 15% public offering, raising $320 million. The attack caused widespread outages. Unitel restored 2G/3G service July 30 and SMS service July 31, but 4G/5G and digital services continue experiencing problems. The disruption caused financial services like Multicaxa Express, 62% of financial transactions over networks in 2025, to fail, forcing businesses in Luanda to revert to cash. Unitel's stock rose 25% on IPO day, then declined 13% the next day. No attribution or technical details disclosed. Sources, dark reading. cPanel critical flaw. SQL execution as database root. CVE 2026-58048. cPanel patch CVE 2026-58048. CVSS 9.4. A privilege escalation flaw allowing authenticated hosting customers to execute SQL commands in the database's root context. The flaw affects all supported cPanel and WHM versions and WP². Exploitation requires a valid cPanel account and access to my SQL/MariaDB feature. Depending on OS and database configuration, this may extend to OS-level compromise. The failure sits in the database renaming process where SQL mode is not preserved, causing SQL to execute in root context. Also patched, CVE 2026-58047, CVSS 5.6, an HTTP request smuggling issue in CPS-RVD, allowing unauthenticated remote attackers to manipulate responses and potentially leak credentials. Action. Update to cPanel 11.110.0.137 or WP² 138.1.6. If patching is delayed, temporarily revoke my SQL feature from cPanel users. For CVE 2026-58047, set CPS-RVD keepalives disabled equals 1 in /var/cPanel/cPanel. Config and restart CPS-RVD as a workaround, and 4 additional IP addresses in the show notes. Source, The Hacker News. Next section, patch priority. Sonic Wall Firewalls. CVE 2026-15409, CVE 2026-15410, CVSS 9.8+, actively exploited by INC ransomware, CIS a KEV deadline July 17 passed. Langflow, CVE 2026-9198, CVSS 9.8, unauthenticated RCE, CIS a KEV deadline August 7. Enable and Central. CVE 2026-18556, CVE 2026-18577, CVSS 8.27. 4. Auth bypass. CIS a KEV deadline August 7. Patchy Tomcat. CVE 2026-34486, CVSS 7.5, Encrypt Interceptor Bypass, CIS a KEV deadline August 7. cPanel and WHM. CVE 2026-58048, CVSS 9.4, SQL execution as root, CVE 2026-58047, CVSS 5.6, request smuggling. Next section, vulnerability disclosures. Thermo Fisher Genetic Analyzers, CVE 2026-17583, CIS a published and ICS, Industrial Control Systems, Medical Advisory for Thermo Fisher Applied Biosystems Genetic Analyzers. CVE 2026-17583 allows attackers to modify FSA/hid output files, tampering with DNA data and resulting in inaccurate test results. Affected products include data collection software versions for 3500/3500XL, 3730/3730XL, Sec Studio Flex, Gene Mapper IDX, 3130 series, ABI Prism 3000, 100/3000, 100 Avant, and ABI Prism 310. Thermo Fisher released security updates implementing digital signatures on instrument software for all currently supported products. 3130 series, ABI Prism 3000, 100/3000, 100 Avant, and ABI Prism 310 are end of life with no updates provided. Action for supported products update to latest versions 4.0.3, 5.0.3, 1.2.6, 1.2.1, 1.7.4. For EOL products, maintain secure chain of custody for files, store unencrypted password-protected media, and restrict access. Source: CISA. Acrisure Car BT and DR100 Anti-Theft Systems. CVE 2026-18411. CIS published an ICS advisory for Acrisure Car BT and DR100 dealer-installed automotive anti-theft systems. CVE 2026-18411 involves a shared Bluetooth authentication key across all affected devices. An attacker within Bluetooth range can issue unauthorized commands including door unlocking, engine immobilization, horn honking, and light flashing. Acrisure released firmware update July 20, 2026, available at CASecurity.com. Affects more than 2 million vehicles in the U.S. Action: update Car BT and DR100 firmware using instructions at CASecurity.com/car security firmware update instructions. Customers should be notified of the update urgency. Source: CISA Schneier on security. Next section, trends and context. Today's stories reflect three major trends: the continued exploitation of Internet-exposed management interfaces, Sonic Wall, Enable, Tomcat, by ransomware groups with increasingly rapid deployment times, maturation of supply chain, attacks from one-off compromises to self-propagating worms, chain drop, that autonomously spread across package ecosystems, and the emergence of AI as both an offensive capability, autonomous vulnerability discovery, AI-enabled hacking campaigns, and a new attack surface, prompt injection, agent-to-agent attacks. Sonic Wall and Enable incidents demonstrate that RMM and security appliance vendors remain high-value targets, while the chain drop worm shows attackers are building sophisticated automation that rivals legitimate CI/CD pipelines in complexity. That concludes today's cyber threat brief. From Carolina Clear Tech, stay patched, stay vigilant.